If you're planning on studying in the UK, the new changes that are coming up might change everything for you. It might change whether you can study in the UK, it might change what the criteria is for you to study in the UK, it might even change whether you can bring your dependents in with you or not. Basically, if you're planning on studying in the UK in the coming year, is this the right decision for you? So today I'll be discussing two major statements made by the government that might change everything when it comes to moving to the UK as a student. Hi guys. In the gift that keeps giving, the UK government just made some statements on immigration which basically indicated that the numbers of immigration have absolutely skyrocketed and how the UK government is facing challenges as a whole because of immigration. And the challenging bit is that with the September intake coming up, the deadline for the September intake is between Feb and May, and that's really not far along. And if you are planning on studying in the UK, you would have probably already shortlisted universities, figured out the eligibility criteria, made this entire plan, only to now know that they're probably considering changes to the entire policy. And with Feb just a few months away, 2 months away, that's cutting it really close. Yikes. Now, let's break down what the immigration routes are into the UK. There's obviously the more traditional route or the most common route through which most people move in, that's either on a student visa or a work visa, and then the dependents that come along with them. Apart from that, there are also the number of people that have come into the UK because of the war going on in Ukraine. And then there are the people who overstay their visas and continue to live in the UK illegally, or people that enter the UK illegally through either the English Channel or different routes. Now, as a consequence of all of this, immigration in the UK until June 2022 itself was about 500,000, which is like 500,000. And that has been partly attributed to the students coming into the UK and bringing along dependents. So let's talk about that 500,000 number for a minute. The numbers climbed for immigration all the way from 173,000 last year to 504,000 this year. And that is a massive jump. And the problem is that when immigration numbers rise by so much, the system isn't really able to cope under the pressure of the numbers. Let's take the NHS, for instance. If you go into the A&E on a weekend and the A&E is accidents and emergencies, the average wait time to get looked at by a doctor in the A&E is 4 hours on the weekend. And this is simply because the system is struggling simply under the number of people that need healthcare provisions and the healthcare staff that they have to support this. The UK does not have the numbers to support the massive number of people that are in the UK right now, right? So that itself is a huge challenge. And obviously, all other facilities get hit as well because simply the system isn't prepared to cope with such volumes. And like I mentioned earlier, the government has specifically mentioned in statements that they put out that a huge reason for immigration crisis right now in the UK is because of the number of dependents that come in along with people on student visas. And if you aren't aware, the UK allows students who are studying PG courses for more than a year to bring along dependents with them. Now, the challenge that the UK government is saying over here is that a lot of dependents that come in either work in low-income jobs or in jobs that don't necessarily help to the growth of the economy. And that is a problem. And apart from that, there's also the challenge that a lot of students bring in 2 or 3 or 4 dependents, which is again putting a strain on the country and the economy as a whole. Now, we last heard about immigration updates about 2 months ago when Suella Braverman had made certain statements saying that we need to cut down the number of people coming into the UK. But since then, there was a new PM and things had to get settled. This obviously took a back seat. But since then, the government has been rather stable. And obviously, this topic is coming back to the table now, and the government has been putting out statements on it, possibly to just try and get a feel of how the public is responding to this and just put out early feelers, right? So the PM's team mentioned that there are plans to bring down numbers that could include putting up barriers to students bringing in their dependents and cutting admissions to low-quality degree courses. Previously, the UK Home Secretary Suella Braverman complained regarding international students who bring to Britain family members who, according to her, can piggyback onto their student visa, also propping up, frankly, substandard courses in inadequate institutions. And the reason they're going after international students is because students account for about 39% of all long-term visas issued outside of EU countries. That is a lot of people. The country most likely to be hit by this is going to be India because according to ONS data, India has overtaken China in terms of the number of visas that are being issued to students, which has actually been a hike of about 273% over the past few years. And the funny thing is that this announcement just comes a few days after the UK signed an agreement with India for 3,000 young working professionals to move to the UK and vice versa, UK professionals moving to India for work. But then again, 3,000 is a very small number in the larger scheme of things when you compare it to 500,000. And also the fact that this was a part of a larger deal, which is the trade agreement between India and the UK. So what does this mean for you? Let's start off by trying to understand what low quality courses are in the first case, right? While there's no official definition of a low quality course, it's probably courses that are offered by colleges to students which don't really have a very high possibility of being translated into work, especially work that is highly coveted in the UK. And these are typically courses that are offered by universities just to try and draw in international students because of the fees that they pay, which are much higher than what locals pay here, right? So there might be some amount of scrutiny on the courses that are being offered to international students to try and define this better. Or of course, it could be courses that are offered by universities which are ranked very, very low. When it comes to possible implications of this announcement, it obviously means that there might be fewer courses that are being offered to the same number of students that were looking to apply earlier. So then that effectively means that there will be more competition for each of these seats versus earlier, right? It also means that these low quality courses that the government is referring to might not offer visas to international students going ahead. That is a possibility. Another possibility is that the universities which were initially charging a certain amount might now start charging more because they're being forced to take in a fewer number of students. So the cost of studying in the UK might effectively shoot up. Another possibility is with regards to dependents. Now, perhaps they'll make no changes and dependents will come in like always, or they might limit the number of dependents that are coming in on student visas, or they might say that dependents need to work in certain jobs to match a certain criteria. Anything is possible. Or they might say no dependents, hopefully not. Something else they might consider is increasing the IELTS score so that they only ensure that extremely serious candidates are moving to the UK to study. Or they might look at reducing the duration of a PSW or perhaps just doing away with it completely. And the fact that the admission deadlines for the September intake are from Feb to May, I would say that you can probably expect an announcement about this really quickly if they are planning on making these immigration changes for the next year. Now, before we move ahead, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, now's an absolutely great time to do it. Hit the subscribe button now and click on the bell icon for notifications. And if you are really serious about moving to the UK, either as a working professional or as a student, I definitely recommend you sign up for my course because it gives you all the details you need to know on what the scenario is in the UK, the job market, how you can get admissions into colleges, how you can land a job in the UK that offers you visa sponsorship, access to about hundreds of job sites and job agencies, CV templates. It's got the whole 9 yards. I will leave a link to it in the description below. In the second update, international students who are studying for a degree in the UK are now eligible for a skilled worker visa. And you're probably thinking this was always the case, so let me clarify. Earlier, you needed a degree in order to switch to a skilled worker visa. Well, not anymore. Students who receive an offer from a licensed sponsor can switch from a student visa to a skilled worker visa without even having to complete their international degree in a UK university. Now, you might wonder why, because this is slightly contradictory to the previous statement that the UK government put out, but that's just UK politics for you. Earlier, for students studying in the UK, the emphasis was twofold. They had to pay attention to what they were studying. They had to ensure that they did well at their courses. And at the end of the course, or nearing the end of the course, they had to start looking out for skilled worker visas or other visas that would sponsor their stay in the UK. Now that's changed. From the day you move to the UK as a student, you can start looking out for a job with a licensed sponsor, a job that offers you a skilled worker visa. You don't even have to complete your entire course, so you can possibly save a ton of money in college fees if you manage to land that job before your course is complete. And so the only thing you now need to do when you move to the UK is start looking for that job immediately and ensure you don't fail your courses before you get a job. So that's good news and bad, I guess. Now, if you are planning on studying in the UK, the chances are that you'll want to work in the UK as well once that's done, right? I guess the important question over there is how much money can you possibly make working in the UK, right? Well, I've done all the heavy lifting for you, so if you'd like to know the answer to that, all you need to do is click this video.